You better hide yo hot, according to the Three Dog Night Boys. And there's Dr. Eli Karam in the studio. Hey, Eli, what's up?
Hey, Terry, good to see you on this holiday week.
Happy holidays to you. EliKaram.com is your website, and Karam is spelled Karam. You are president-elect of the Kentucky Association for Marriage and Family Therapists. There are a lot of those, too, aren't there?
Yeah, about over 400 in Kentucky.
That's good. They're helping people.
That's right.
Smooth things out. Let's smooth it down.
That's right.
Now, first off, this time of year, I think that there's some people they go a little batty. The pressure of the holidays, I guess, can just get to certain people, and they get a little wound up.
Yeah, we think of stress as always this negative thing, distress, but there's also, positive stress, eustress. But any way you shake it, the holidays, a lot's going on. And some people, if they're not planned out, experience this stress, especially this week, planning parties, going to functions, all that kind of good stuff.
Because you want it to be perfect.
That's right.
We had our little neighborhood thing the other night, and it was fun. It was 10 different houses. We were in everybody's house for like 15 minutes, but there's
progressive.
Exactly. But there's not a lot of pressure because it's 15 minutes. It's not like you're having to entertain everybody all night. That is a brilliant way to handle this situation.
Right.
So thanks to my neighbors who came out. I think Shelley and Judy came up with that, two of my neighbors. And it's just the better way to do things.
But you know why people do that? It's either because they really idealize what it was like for them growing up in these holiday traditions, number one, Terry, or they didn't have that. So they want to go overboard.
Right. And
they want it to be perfect for this time of year.
And then the crash after it's over must be tough, too. Emotionally, after it's over, we did all this work. We put up the decorations. The family came over and everybody ate the pie and they're gone. It's over.
And it's also very common for so many people to get so invested in the prepping and the setting up. They don't actually enjoy what they've created anyway. And then they're working all the time and all this work goes in and we're forgetting we're supposed to be enjoying each other. So it's something to talk about. If you are going to go all out like that, if you're hosting a function, you want to make sure that you have support from your family members, whoever else is helping you, so that you're not doing it all and feeling burdened to live up to some unlivable expectation.
And it's important that parents remember to let the kids be a part of that, too, instead of putting the burden on yourself. If you're a single parent or if you're in a couple, nonetheless, it helps to let everybody take part in it so they feel more like a member of the team.
Yeah.
And also when it's time to take it down, they're part of the team there, too.
Right. And then people say, oh, well, my kids, they're too young or they wouldn't be into it. I mean, you can find a developmentally appropriate task for almost everybody. And that's a nice kind of family bonding moment if you do it together. But there's a lot of people, too, that this is the one time a year that they really love. So they want to go overboard. And sometimes they forget what is realistic and what's not.
Indeed. All right, let's jump into the area that makes everybody squirm a little bit. Here come my in-laws.
Right. And marriage and family therapists traditionally around big areas like sex and money. In-laws is something marriage and family therapists see all the time, as far as a lot of this gets stirred up around the holidays, especially if you're traveling, as am I. And I go to Chicago every year to visit my wife's family. And I have some tips for you how to not let your in-laws ruin Christmas, if you will.
Oh, you were in Time Magazine, weren't you?
Right. This was, I'm giving you these tips from a Time Magazine story that came out in Thanksgiving, but the same things that
certainly
apply to Thanksgiving will apply to your Christmas holiday meal or your Hanukkah festivity,
right,
if you will.
But there's anxiety that builds throughout the year because you're thinking, oh my gosh, such and such is coming. It could be a cousin or right. It doesn't necessarily have to be an in-law, but someone else who's another force. Could be a gale force under your roof, or you're headed to that gale force's home. And so therein the pressure lies.
So the nature of just sharing space, even if it's for a short amount of time, a couple days, or in my case, like a week, you want to have a good game plan, number one, with your partner. So an idea of what are we going to say and what we're not. Those boundaries with you and your spouse, whether you be married or a committed relationship, that's very important. So if you don't want to talk about your financial situation to your father-in-law or to your mother-in-law, or you don't want to talk about what's going on in your marriage or your intimate life, don't do it. But make sure your partner's on board like that. If you come, my wife is a close-knit Italian family, all girls, and the father, he's a great guy, but he is used to knowing what's going on in his daughter's life. So what might be okay for her to tell him is not okay with me sometimes. So I just want to have that talk to make sure we know what we're talking about and
what kind of money you making, boy? You keeping my daughter happy?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So,
but it is dicey walking around certain issues because you are all right. Here, you've just arrived at your in-laws' house. You're sitting in the room, other people in another room, and there's your father-in-law. and you can't look at the TV the whole time. Eventually, somebody's got to break the ice.
That's right. And you know, another way to do that is to know that, you know, your partner has your back. You want to feel like it's no worse place to be than when your significant other is pulled between the two men she loves, her father and her husband. So you just want to make sure you're comfortable relating to your in-laws on a way that you are. You introduced the topic, but yes, sitting there staring at a TV, especially if you're going to be there a prolonged period of time, doesn't work. You got to find a way to break the ice.
Well, how do you evade, sidestep a topic you don't want to discuss?
Well, especially the context of when you discuss is important. So you don't want to bring up anything heavy over a holiday meal. And I think you just say, you know, so-and-so, mother-in-law, father-in-law, thank you for asking. I appreciate your concern.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks for asking, but I'm not going to talk about it here. Let's, you know, things are going well there.
If it's just the two of you, that sounds odd. If it's just you and your father-in-law sitting in a room, thanks for asking.
Right.
I really don't want to talk about that. Is that sufficient?
You can say that, or you can say, you know, we're working on it, and when there's something relevant that affects you guys, of course, we're going to let you know. But right now, we're just working through it, and this is a very good catch-all. If somebody is going through problems in their marriage,
we're working on it. Okay,
yeah, we're working on it, and if you care about us, you know, you give us our space, and I promise, when there's something to tell, we'll tell you. So you let them know, you honor their intent, which is what you have to do with most people anyway. Generally, family members poke their nose into things because they care.
That's right.
Right. So you can acknowledge that part without giving too much away. And this happens all the time.
There are some people at every gathering that just want to know a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And it's hard to figure out. So let's remove a family member out of this, and let's just say it's somebody that you know to a limited degree, and that person starts pressing you about whatever, you lost your job or whatever. Can you use the same verbiage there?
Yeah, I think you want to honor the concern that they have, but you also, if you're not comfortable telling them that information, you shouldn't feel obligated or pressured to tell them that. And I think you also, this is where you want backup from your significant other or your spouse, because the worst thing that could happen is you say, okay, we're not saying that, and then your spouse, after a couple drinks, goes and grabs what you just said.
I'm weak as a lamb, too. That's the thing. As soon as they ask me something, here's my password. Just read it online. All right, sit tight, Eli. Eli Karam, marriage and family therapist. He has more tips for dealing with family members because we're all coming together here over the next 10 days or so. Website, elikaram.com. We're back in a moment. Dr. Eli Karam's in the studio with me, a marriage and family therapist, president-elect of that cluster of esteemed colleagues. Welcome back in here. We were talking about when the in-laws get together, or you head to their homes.
Right.
And the challenges that tend to bubble up over holidays.
Right. So some more tips, you know, especially when you're traveling to stay with your in-laws or other people, so you're leaving your house. And so many things can be overscheduled. People, Terry, forget to schedule time for themselves, alone time, which is essential, especially if you're with a lot of people in a small and, tight space. So whether that's be walking the dog, getting out, or even getting your workout in, a run, or going to the gym. These things are essential, especially if you're around people. Even if you love them, you need a break. So schedule some alone time. And
that also helps your hosts.
Yeah.
They need a little time where they're not worried about bumping into you in the hallway or whatever.
Exactly. So you definitely want to do that, and don't be shy about talking to your spouse about that to start with.
And tell them how long you're going to be away. Just say, hey, we're gonna head out here, and we won't be back till 6 or so. And they can go, they can unbuckle.
Exactly. It just benefits both parties. Going along with that, some people, if you're a young family, kind of like I have, and we'll go with, as I was saying in the last segment, to my in-laws, we want to start some of our new traditions while still kind of recognizing the old traditions that my wife's family has. So you can kind of start your new traditions while you're there. And one way to do that is, one way we do that is we a kind of vacation within a vacation. So if we're going to be somewhere for a week, we'll be downtown Chicago, so we'll stay a couple nights after Christmas. We'll stay at the Drake Hotel. So we'll have a little break from our kids and let a double whammy, because our in-laws can take care of the grandchildren. They can bond with them. So it's kind of a vacation within a vacation, scheduling time alone, starting a new tradition. So that's kind of our tradition. So you can do that, even if you're a young family or just starting out. Feel free to kind of create your own meaning. And
that's a double task there, because it rejuvenates your marriage and then torments your in-laws, which you want to do too.
Right, or especially in-laws that tell you how to parent your children. If they spend a little time with them, then they kind of see what it's like.
Show me how it's done, bucko.
Yeah. Be my guest. You can make him eat his vegetables? Go ahead.
Yeah, show me.
Go ahead. Use your powers. Tied in with that also is finding the understandable part. We can't pick our family, as you know, Terry, and we can't always, like every one of them. We can be curious about what makes them tick. And generally, when someone, as we were saying in the earlier segment, is intrusive or is asking questions, there's usually some good intent underneath it. So if you have that eccentric family member or that family member that prods too much, you got to ask yourself, where are they coming from? There must be some reason they want to know this. So if you can honor the understandable part of their argument, whether, for my father-in-law, he loves his family of all girls. He cares about his girls. So I realize that. So when he's asking questions, I can honor the fact that he cares about his girls. He wants the best for them, which helps me stay non-defensive and helps me kind of hang in there longer while holding to those boundaries that we talked about.
But didn't he surrender that curiosity the day you two got married? Because really, that's, he did his homework, his research on you prior to the...
That's right.
And he had to be at peace with it because she said she was going to marry you.
That's right. But even the parents that are very invested, even though their children launch and get older, they still have that part that wants them to know how they're doing, and especially during the holidays, and especially if you travel or if you don't live geographically close to your parents. So it's a natural kind of yearning, even though that tie has to be cut and that boundary changes. You want to be able to honor whether your mother-in-law or your father-in-law, your extended family. You want to. They usually have some good intent underneath that. And I guess last tip goes without saying, but if you find yourself getting negative and being negative about the experience or traveling or being around your family members, remind yourself what you're grateful for, which is a counter this time of year to being critical and full of contempt. So there's a lot of good things going on. And some people don't even have families, and I always tell a lot of people like that come in and complain constantly about their family members to focus on what is good about those relationships, and you can be close and conflictual.
Eli Karam, President-elect of Kentucky Association for Marriage and Family Therapists. Great to see you again.
Good to see you, Terry.
Happy holidays.
See you in the new year.
Right on. EliKaram.com is his website, last name spelled Karam. James St. James checks in a few minutes.